It's the one and only Africa Allah and the B-Team DJs by PlayMas.Today. Get familiar.
It's the one and only Africa Allah, and you are now tuned into Being Africa Allah right here on Discover Music Channel by PlayMas.Today. And today I have the honor of speaking with Mr. John Beckford from Miami Carnival. Well, excuse me. What is the proper name of the organization?
No, you said it right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The producing entity is Miami Broward One Carnival Host Committee. I know that's a mouthful,
Right.
but the actual event is Miami Carnival.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about you and your role with the Miami Carnival organization.
I've had the good fortune to be a part of the organization for over 20 years now. I serve on the board as a treasurer, and I do serve in the capacity of the chief marketing officer and sponsorship development. So that part of the job takes me 365 days a year because, to market, promote, advertise Miami Carnival is a day-to-day task and not just, during a particular season.
Now, you've done some wonderful things. I've seen some sponsorships this year that is mind-boggling. I applaud you on the acquisitions that you guys have had for this 2023 year. Tell us a little bit about how you go about marketing, promoting, and pitching the Miami Carnival product.
I think one of the things that brands see out there is they see Miami Carnival. We have a very strong marketing team. There's 7 of us. We do a lot of destination marketing each year. So, we're selective in making sure that we carry the Miami Carnival torch, if you would, to various destinations, whether it's St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Jamaica, Dominica, and the list goes on. I just came back from Notting Hill Carnival in London not too long ago. And I was home for 4 days, and then I turned around and I was in Virginia for the carnival in Norfolk, Virginia. So, Miami Carnival, we're celebrating 39 years this year, gearing up for the next, for next year in 2024, for the big 4-0. But I think once sponsors see the footprint that we have, sponsors or potential sponsors, when they come to Miami Carnival and they look at the 4 events spread out over 4 different days with over 100,000 people attending, it lends true to brands like Smartwater, like Gamble Renard. This year, Gamble Renard, they gave us a his and her watch set valued at $10,000 that we'll give away to some lucky winner that buys an online ticket. I mean,
Wow.
Where you're going to go and you're coming anyway. If you buy your ticket online, you have a shot at winning a $10,000 valued watch. We're also giving away a trip for 2 airfare, that is, to Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival in 2024. And we're always at Trinidad's Carnival. So I think sponsors recognize that we're a little bit different. We're not like Notting Hill. We're not like Labor Day. We're not like Caribana and some of the other destinations where the carnival is on the public roads, free and open to the public. All of our events are in sterile, contained venues. You do have to pay. You do go through security checkpoints. Bags are searched. You go through metal detectors. So there's an element of safety beyond the law enforcement and the security personnel that you'll see that's layered into everything that we present under the Miami Carnival banner. And I think brands will see that and say, hey, you know what? We want to align ourselves with Miami Carnival. And so, I have to say, before we go too much further, I have to say thank you to our 2023 sponsors. Many of them are returning. We also work with, St. Lucia, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival and Cultural Committee. We have the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as Visit Lauderdale. The GMCBB is the Miami's branch tourism division, and Visit Lauderdale is the Fort Lauderdale branch of the government's tourism division. iHeartMedia is one of our media presenting partner. Carib Bear, Spotify, Junior Carnival is presented by TD Bank, and so the list goes on.
Impressive. Very impressive. Listen, now you brought it up. Since you started talking about hospitality and tourism, I think we should shift gears and talk a little bit about the business of Carnival and how many people actually come to the city just to participate in Miami Carnival. Not only the festivities that you guys produce, but just overall, how many people in the community benefit from the impact of that said tourism.
That is huge, and I'm glad you brought that up. That is one of the things that I talk about, especially when I go to the destinations. We usually are on the radio and television, and more than talking about the beads and the feathers and the good time that folks will have on the road, I always like to talk about that economic impact. Because yes, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, and the Board of County Commissioners in Miami, and then Visit Lauderdale and Fort Lauderdale, one of the key reasons why they have become partners with Miami Carnival is because out of the 100,000 plus patrons that attend Miami Carnival each year, more than a third. Sure.
Say that number again, because that's a very important number. I want you to say the estimated amount of people that come to Miami Carnival every year that put heads in beds.
Every year in, year out, over 100,000. We have a 93% repeat rate for our patrons. So, what does that mean? That means that the product that we have, known as Miami Carnival, resonates with the patrons because they come back, year after year. And out of that 10,000 plus, there is at least 34% of those folks that actually travel from out of the state. And then there's another 21% that travel from out of the country. We've had charters from 34%, Japan.
34% coming domestically from other parts of the U.S. and 21% from international destinations. These are numbers that,
and they got to stay in hotels.
We have to make sure that we highlight, because this is important to the business and the economy of the community.
Oh, 100%. When these visitors come into town, besides enjoying over 23 miles of beaches in Fort Lauderdale and beaches in Miami, they have to stay in a hotel. So they're paying that hotel. They're going to rent cars. The joke here locally is, if you're trying to rent a car Columbus Day weekend, if you haven't made your reservations like 9 months ago, you have to drive about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Miami and Fort Lauderdale to find an available car rental agency, because everywhere in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, the car rental agencies are sold out. You can't get off a plane and walk to one of the car rental agencies at the airport. Sorry, no cars. So hotels are booked solid.
I think I booked mine from May.
See?
I booked my hotel and my car, and even at that point,
no joke,
so astronomical in comparison. Now, if you try to book something now, it's over. You're not getting anything.
No, and if you do, you're gonna spend a pretty penny, on it. And so yes, those visitors, they have to rent hotels. They're staying. Some might stay in Airbnbs. We're not able to track those numbers, but I'm sure the Airbnb and the bed and breakfasts all earn. The food vendors, you can't overlook those. We have 50 food vendors. We cap our food vendors at 50 so that every food vendor has an opportunity to really maximize the return on their investment. It's hard work to feed 100,000 people over 4 days. But we're proud to say that many of our food vendors, the money that they make during the 4 days of Miami Carnival is what helps to put their kids through college. It's what helps a food vendor go from renting a home to owning a home. And so those are the success stories that live on each year after year for the last 39 years behind this thing called Miami Carnival. And that economic impact, the last time we did a study was in 2009. We're doing an economic, impact study now. But Back then, it was to the tune of about 130 million. Now, today, with the prices and the way things are, you're looking at easily double that number just from the cost of living and everything going up. So the economic impact that Miami Carnival brings to the South Florida economy, whether it's the food vendors, whether it's the hotels, whether it's the car rentals, restaurants have to hire more wait staff. It trickles down. So it's beyond just the folks that are buying costumes. It's beyond the folks that are just coming out to watch. It's those visitors that come to shop, to dine, to spend, and pump millions and millions of dollars into the local economy between Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and dare I say as far north as Palm Beach as well.
Now, I need you to reiterate that number. And the last time that you did the study was in 2009? So 10 years ago? No, a little more than 10, right?
A little more than that. Yeah, those economic impact studies are very expensive. They can cost north of $20,000. We are, Miami Broward One Carnival Host Committee. We are a nonprofit, organization. We're currently out looking for grant funding to do a new economic impact study. As I indicated, and as I'm sure you're well aware, and your listeners, the cost of doing business, even the cost of producing Miami Carnival has arisen astronomically. Just like how a dozen eggs now costs, $6, $7 that used to cost $1.50 5 years ago. So, there's a tremendous amount of pressure put on by us to produce the event. But even those vendors, again, it always comes back to the economic impact. The folks that we use for stage, light, sound, the folks that we use decorate, the sponsors garden and the hospitality suites, those are all local business, most of them minority-owned, Black-owned, women-owned businesses, and they look forward to providing that service to Miami Carnival in whatever that capacity is, whether it's renting portalets, the fencing, the decorations, the food catering. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Miami Carnival's budget to produce Miami Carnival is now exceeds $3 million. That's a lot of money.
Yes. Now, you said that this is a nonprofit. What inspired you to become a part of a nonprofit, knowing the challenges that come along with working with a nonprofit?
The challenges that come along working with a nonprofit, obviously, is we don't have deep pockets in which to draw from. And so my budget for marketing and advertising is going to be limited, but we're a resourceful team. And so try to maximize as much as we can. And we do try to pull in a lot of media partners to help us. This year, we have iHeartMedia, coming in at almost a presenting level, in-kind sponsorship with the help that they're giving us with advertising. We've got good friends like Synergy TV. So all of our events are broadcast live throughout the Caribbean and on DirecTV channel 134 here in the United States. So there's that opportunity to really reach that broad segment.
Now, again, so on DirecTV, this is available throughout the entire nation, throughout the entire U.S.?
Well, wherever DirecTV is available in the U.S., which I think is most of the contiguous United States.
Okay. Okay, and that's 131?
134, channel 134.
Okay, so everybody, just pay attention. If you have DirecTV or access to DirecTV, you can watch the Miami Carnival presentation on channel 134. All right?
And then in the Caribbean, so it's broadcast, again, live through Synergy TV. It'll either be Synergy TV or it might be under Flow, depending on the island. Right. But, come Junior Carnival is on Saturday, September the 30th. Panorama is Friday, October the 6th. Juve is October the 7th. And, of course, the big day, the parade, the mega concert with all of your soca artists is on Sunday, October the 8th. And all of that you can watch through Synergy TV and the TV partners. And Synergy TV reaches about 6 million viewers. So, again, and that's where the tie-in comes in with our sponsors, because Caribbean will recognize that in addition to activation on site during the 4 days of Carnival, there's also 6 million people by way of Synergy TV broadcast that's seeing, Miami Carnival. So they get to see the sponsors, the logos, and so forth. And then
I can see
not only is it
why.
broadcast live, but there's also a rebroadcast later on in the year around Christmas time. So there's 2 opportunities to see Miami Carnival if you're not able to make it. But we want people to come to Miami.
Yeah, you want people to come.
Get on a
You
plane and
want
come
people to
on
come, but
down.
it's great to know that
Enjoy
there's
some
an
sun and
opportunity to
fun.
watch it.
Mhm.
Now, I can see why. I'm sorry, going back to because I'm so at awe with everything that you guys have been doing. I think I've been covering and participating in Miami Carnival probably since 2012.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate that.
I just,
So you're part of our growth and success, mind you. So let me thank you for that, because it does take media partners like yourself that are engaged and in tune with Miami Carnival. You know the brand, you see the brand. Sure, you've watched us grow over the years, from strength to strength, from year to year. Even during coming out of COVID, we were the first organization to produce a full-scale carnival with some strict COVID-19 mitigation plans in place that was approved by the mayor's office and the chief medical officer from Miami-Dade County. And in 2021, we had folks from all the other carnivals come into town to basically get a copy of our blueprint
right.
on how we executed a full-scale in-person carnival coming off the heels of a pandemic that, the likes many of us have never seen in this generation and probably won't see again.
And I'm glad that you spoke about that, because that was actually my next question. How did COVID impact the carnival production, and what were some of the things that you learned from that particular experience moving forward?
One of the key things that we learned was you always have to be ready to pivot. And sometimes you never know where things come out of left field. And so that was one of our great teaching moments. And we were able to pivot. We were able to, as I said earlier, work with the county officials, the city officials, the chief medical officers, department as well, to make sure that together we present something that is safe, that is secure, and that folks would be comfortable enough to come out and have a good time. And we were able to do that. The other part, of course, this thing is that post-COVID, again, the cost of living and the cost of doing business has just risen, astronomically. And unfortunately, we can't pass along all of that cost to the consumer. So it does impact our bottom line. And again, being that we are a nonprofit organization, we don't have the luxury of falling back on a huge surplus of funds in which to dip into.
The numbers in comparison, what was the numbers like coming out of COVID? Because I know that a lot of people were reluctant, they were afraid, there was a lot of hysteria around it. 2020.
The numbers are still, so in 2019, Miami Carnival had probably the best year in a long time, more than 15 years. The numbers were astronomical. From 2018 to 2019, the growth was more than 60%. And people were everybody had that FOMO for 2020. It's like the fear of missing out. And the talk was, oh man, you weren't at Miami Carnival in 2019? Well, you better make sure you're there for 2020. And then COVID came along March 15th of 2020. And the landscape changed. I said before, we had to pivot. And then coming out of the pandemic in 2021, the numbers were about half of what we had in 2019. So we've had to, it's a slow rebuilding process. And so we went from 2021 with extremely low numbers to much better numbers last year, but not back at the 2019 level. I think this is the year that we'll actually get back to the 2019 levels. And then as we gear up for next year to celebrate 40 years of Miami Carnival, I think a lot of people are going to put 2024 on their bucket list, because 40 years of Miami Carnival is a huge milestone. And if you miss it, you're going to be like, man, I missed out.
Yeah, it's like history.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
And
we're moving in
everybody wants to be
history.
a
You're
part of history. I mean, who doesn't want to be a part of history?
2023, and I can see the build. We saw the change in 2022 when they released the restrictions, and people were
Hmm.
more, you guys actually set the tone for the rest of the Caribbean Carnival community to begin feeling safe to go outside because of everything that you did. You were actually as you said, the blueprint, not only for carnivals, but festivities and activities relating around culture throughout the US and the Caribbean. Now
Hmm.
here we are in 2023. No, let me go to 2022. In 2022, you guys had all of your activities happening at the same venue. This would, and I'm saying this, all of the activities, particularly the Juve and the Carnival, which I don't think was happening before. I know it was,
And the panorama. Yes.
and so
So
everything happened
one
at
of the
the same venue.
reasons we made that pivot, again, coming out of the whole, COVID mitigation. However, this year, Juve will be back in Fort Lauderdale in Broward County,
Okay,
in its old birthplace, the
right.
Central Broward Park in a great city. And I have to say great because I live in Lauderhill. So
Okay.
yeah, this year Juve is back in Lauderhill, and the feedback, the reaction, social media went on fire when we made that announcement.
Yeah, people were
A
excited.
lot of the locals prefer having the Juve in Lauderhill versus the Miami-Dade Fairgrounds.
Okay.
So
Now me
so
not
so.
me not living in Florida,
Mhm.
I was I liked it at the other place because it was like, okay, I don't have to, I'm a little familiar with the place. I don't have to worry about getting lost. But when I spoke to people that have been going and are familiar with the South Florida area, they said that they prefer it at the original venue because that area is more of a Caribbean based community, and afterwards they can go and get food, and there's not people looking at them crazy like, get out, it's time to go home. So I think that's one of the things, and I just wanted to reiterate the reasoning behind going back to that location. Did it have to do with the impact of the community, or whatever the communities around the locations had to say with it, or was it just predominantly a financial decision?
No. So one of the things that the Miami Broward One Carnival Host Committee is good at is listening to the public, to the consumer, to the patron, to the revelers, to the stakeholders, to the sponsors, and the overwhelming amount of locals. Out of towners, they don't mind, they don't care. They're just here to enjoy a good time. You could put Juve in the middle of the Everglades, they'll be there.
Right.
But we heard the cry of our local folks, especially the folks that live in Broward County. Yes, Lauderhill is Caribbean centric. Some people call Lauderhill Jamaica Hill because there's so many Jamaicans there. Trini's Love Joy's Roti Shop. That's the hub for, if you're from Trinidad and Tobago and you come to South Florida, it's like almost a rite of passage to go to Sing's, Roti Shop or Joy's Roti Shop. So, and so the Bahamian have, their favorite spot. The Haitians have their favorite spot. And a lot of the Caribbean restaurants are more located in Broward County than they are Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
And so, we took all of that under consideration. I will say this, it is going to be a logistics challenge to ensure that this new route at the Central Broward Park works. It has to work in a certain way for the county to be happy and comfortable. So this is the part where I have to make the PSA, the public service announcement, by saying, listen, folks, whatever anyone from the committee is asking you to do, we're going to ask that you comply with those instructions or directions or orders, because we're not doing it because we want to be pain in the butt. We're doing it because there's certain guidelines, there's certain rules and regulations that the county and the city is mandating that we do. If we do not execute a good, safe juve in Lauderhill at the Central Broward Park, we will lose the opportunity, right, to keep the juve where it is. So I encourage all of your listeners, make sure, yes, we want you to have a good time. Yes, we want you to get on bad, but you have to do it within the guidelines, the rules that are that we've had to abide by to get the permit and the permission and the blessing of not just Lauderhill, but the neighboring cities, because what we do impacts the city of Sunrise, Plantation, Lauderdale Lakes, and North Lauderdale, and Sunrise. If I might have said that twice, and Plantation. So, and then there are elderly people that you have to care about. We have to worry about making sure that if somebody has a medical emergency, the ambulance can get from point A to point B, because not everybody's going to be at Juve. And so we have to be mindful that there are other people in the community that are not a part of any of our events, that you don't want to necessarily upset their routine and day of life just because we want to have Juve and Carnival Day and Panorama and the Junior Carnival. So I think it's it's important for us not to park on people's lawn, not to relieve yourself if you need to go to the bathroom on somebody's grass or tree or sidewalk. We really have to respect the neighbors, the neighborhoods. We have to respect the law enforcement officers. We have to respect the security personnel, and we have to respect the staff and the volunteers of the organization that are all here to make sure we all have a good time, but doing it the right way.
So then that brings me to the impact of cultural events on the communities, and how you guys communicate with those communities, as well as provide services like the Ubers, the shuttles, and other ways to reduce the amount of traffic, because traffic.
Yes.
Traffic.
I'm glad you brought it up. 2 simple solutions to traffic. 1, use the park and ride. We offer park and ride. And let me tell you, we offer that at a great expense. To offer park and ride cost this organization north of $50,000. Okay? We hate to spend $50,000 for 100 people to ride the shuttle. We need everybody to use the shuttle. Use the park and ride feature. All the information about park and ride, the do's and the don'ts, you'll find that on our website, miamicarnival.org. It's going to be posted on our Instagram pages. It'll be there as part of the grid. Park and ride is one. And the other thing is, everybody wants to come out at 4 o'clock when the sun starts to go down. So, and I'll start with Sunday, working backwards. Sunday, it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Our suggestion is come early. If the gates open at 11, get there between 11 and 12 o'clock. But if 100,000 people try to get to the venue at 4 p.m. because, oh, Lord, I don't want to be in the hot sun, let me wait till the sun goes down. Yes, you're going to be stuck on the turnpike or the highways for 2 hours. Wouldn't it be better to be stuck, so to speak, inside the fairgrounds or inside the Central Broward Park for 2 hours by the food court or by the arts and craft village, right? Or by the entertainment stages being entertained, than to be sitting in traffic fuming. So come early, park, get in early, use park and ride to your benefit, leave the driving to us, and just meet at one of the designated parking zones. And it's completely free. So we're not even charging for the park and ride feature.
Say that again, because First of all, this is the first time I've heard about park and ride. And had I known that, I would have left the car. I would have left that rental at the hotel. 'Cause-
Well, not at the hotel. You would drive to one of the designated parking spots, park your car for free. The Golden Glaze interchange by the office is one, up there by the swap shop is another, and then for the folks down south, Tropical Park is another as well. And like I said, we're posting all of this because I'm telling you, over the 40, almost 39 years, everybody wants to come out at 4 p.m. on Sunday, and that's what drives that traffic and bottleneck up. So, I encourage, especially the folks that buy the VIP package, uh, come early. We feed you breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, unlimited non-alcoholic beverages. I mean, the VIP experience is one of the best ways to view Miami Carnival on Sunday. Come early. You have 12 hours of eating and drinking that's inclusive with your VIP admission. But if you do come general admission, hey, you know what? Support the food vendors. We have a beautiful food court. Picnic benches are out there. So avoid the traffic, come early, relax inside the venue versus getting frustrated in your car because you're stuck in traffic for 2 hours. And the same goes for Juve on Saturday. Get there early. The Juve starts at 7. The parade of the Juve bands doesn't kick off until 8 o'clock because of noise ordinances.
Right.
Yes, I got to say that because people, especially from the Caribbean, think that we can start Juve at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
No, this is the US of A. They're not having
noise ordering
no,
start.
noise ordinance. We cannot start amplified music until 8 a.m. And so at 8 a.m. on the stroke of when the big hand hits the 12, that's it. The first Juve band moves off and we start to crank the music up. But whether you are a part of one of the 26 Juve bands or you're coming to spectate, again, get there early. Get to the parking lot by 6 o'clock. Get to the park and ride by 6 o'clock. Get to the venue early. Get in and relax. Panorama, we don't have too much traffic problem. I wish we did. More people need to come out and support the Panorama. We have 6 steel band orchestras. We have a visiting band from Antigua and Barbuda, Hell's Gate. We've got St. Thomas Junior Steel Orchestra coming in from the USVI. Steel band music, just like the Junior Carnival, which is on the Saturday before the Carnival weekend. I'd love to see more people come out and support the Junior Carnival. Junior Carnival is presented by TD Bank. That's a big sponsor. I always tell folks, hey, who you bank with? Because if it's not TD Bank, you need to change banks. Because guess what? TD Bank supports Miami Junior Carnival. And so we also need to be intentional about supporting those that support us. Gambrel Renard is a returning sponsor. Folks need to go on the site and buy something from Gambrel Renard. They're providing the polo shirts for all of the VIP packages. So you got 1,500 polo shirts that they're providing. I spoke about it earlier. They're giving the $10,000 his and her watch set. So these are brands, these are companies that we want to go ahead and make sure that we turn around and support Gambrel Renard. Go to the website, buy something. Drink Carib beer and not Heineken. Drink Smirnoff and not another brand. Look at who's supporting Miami Carnival and then be intentional about, in turn, supporting them. We have Spotify coming on this year. I mentioned it before. We have an incredible relationship with St. Lucia government, with the Trinidad and Tobago government, with the Barbados government, and with the Antigua and Barbuda government. And they send artists up here to perform during Miami Carnival. We go down during their carnivals to support them just in the same way they support us. And we have that symbiotic relationship between the different entities and the organizations, not just in the Caribbean, but also here in the States. Let me take the time to say hi to my good friends over at Atlanta Carnival, Virginia Carnival. We just came from there. Labor Day, Orlando, Tampa, Hollywood, out west. There's a lot of carnivals. Actually, I always like to tell folks, in any given weekend out of the 52 weeks in the year, there's a carnival happening somewhere on the planet Earth. Somewhere on the planet Earth.
I think there's last I checked, there was 133 carnival
See?
product.
I will now memorize that number. So there's 133 carnivals per year. Man, so
Right.
I'm a
That's
slacker. I only go to about 8 of them.
so, so okay. So having been able to attend a lot of carnivals across the U.S. and throughout the Caribbean, I think that Miami Carnival has it right with a lot of things. The ability to encapsulate the carnival into one major experience, because you were talking throughout the entirety of this conversation, you were talking about Miami Carnival from the production perspective on the Sunday with the food court and the VIP experience, the spectator experience, and
Hmm.
also the concerts. But while the concerts are happening, in the background, you have the backdrop of the revelers enjoying themselves on the road. How? How, from a logistics standpoint, and I do production, so I'm very at awe at the how precise and well oiled. I mean, we know that in the background stuff happens, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but from an onlooker's perspective, it's like, wow, even with all of these things, all of these moving pieces going on, every year you're not only able to produce a quality product, but you have a 93% retention rate.
Yeah.
How do you pull that off?
I, I, I believe it's two things. Great question. One, leadership. We've got a wonderful board chair, the Honorable Joan Justin, who I sometimes call her the Carnival Whisperer. So she knows how to work the inner parts that, and there's a million moving parts to produce and to make Miami Carnival happen. I know we have a hardworking executive director, Mario Zamora, and then from there you've got all these department heads, whether it's entertainment, hospitality, public relations, my department, marketing and sponsorship development, and so all the department heads, and then each department will have staff and volunteers that execute the various parts to the puzzle. And it all comes together. And then the other thing is, I said it at the top of the hour, we're a hybrid carnival. We're different. We're not a parade. It's not just a parade on the public streets. When you come to Miami Carnival on Carnival Sunday, now, as you just alluded, while the bands are crossing the stage on a half mile away on the other side of the venue, so you've got the mass band stage going, then you've got the concert stage going, where we feature. One year we had over 30 artists. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing is we showcase artists not just from Trinidad and Tobago,
Everywhere.
but from all the islands. And folks have come to realize that, whether I am from St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Antigua, you name it, I'm going to see one or more of my artists on that Miami Carnival stage. And then 5-6 years ago, we started a dance hall zone because we recognize that there's a lot of dance hall aficionados that might not want to come out just for soca, but if we give them some dance hall, right? So now we have a dance hall zone. And then 2 years ago, we started a compa zone for our Haitian American brothers and sisters. And then last year, we created a welcome stage instead of a welcome tent when you first enter the fairgrounds. So when you imagine, if you would, close your eyes and you picture you walk through the turnstiles after you clear security and get your bags checked, and you walk through the metal detectors to make sure you're not carrying any contraband into the venue. And then you see the first thing you see is the welcome stage,
Right.
And it might be, last year was powered by Antigua and Barbuda. And so you saw the Antigua and Barbuda DJ, big up Super Diamond. He had people body floating during the rain because it did rain last year for a couple hours. And that stage never shut down. People were in the rain, getting wet, didn't mind. When 3 inches of water was on the ground, people were body surfing in the water because Super Diamond told them to dive into the water. And so you've got the welcome stage, you've got the compa zone, you've got the dance hall zone, you've got the mass band stage, and then the concert stage. Those 5 elements along
That's a lot
with
of stages to
50
manage.
food vendors, 30 arts and craft vendors, and about 25 corporate exhibitors, which is the sponsors as well as non-sponsors who get a corporate tent. You have all of that as well in that footprint on Sunday. So literally, there is something for everybody. And you won't get that on the streets of New York. You're not going to get that on the streets of Notting Hill. You're not going to get that in the streets of Caravana. So we're different. We're a hybrid carnival. So I always tell folks, you can't compare us to a Notting Hill. You can't compare us to New York because we're not on the streets. It's not open to the public in that manner and in that way. So those elements, I think, is all what pulled together with an incredible team of staff, volunteers, board members, is what makes the magic of Miami Carnival happen.
Well,
I know
outside
that
of
was a long answer, but
no,
I
no,
had to
no,
get
no.
everything in there.
Yes, yes, no, because we in the played. I can put this on a loop because people have to hear these things. This is again. I tell people that people that don't understand carnival and or the culture behind carnival. I always tell them that it seems just as easy or a bunch of people dancing inside clothes or some people on the stage. I'm like, no, you don't understand the business of it all and how this impacts so many people. And I
Mhm.
think when people start to look at entertainment from the perspective, entertainment and culture from that perspective, they start to have a different appreciation for it. Like I said, prior to actually being on the road as a spectator taking photos, and when I started getting involved and actually getting inside, I was like, wow, this is so many moving parts. And I just love the fast pace, how it's so fast paced and everything is boom. If you don't think on your feet, you could have a disaster. You have to be able to avert a lot of things. There again, people are drinking, people are having a good time, people, like you said, they're not mindful of everything else because they assume that everybody else is there for the same thing, not understanding that we're in the middle of a community.
Mhm.
So you have to think of all of the people that are affected by this one product, and how are you going to service and make sure that every person has a unique experience that is pleasant to them while supporting this particular product. And
Correct.
what you guys are doing is commendable. I must say that Miami Carnival is one of my favorite carnivals in the US,
Thank
aside
you.
from
That means a lot.
Hollywood. So Hollywood and Miami are my two favorite carnivals in the US. Um, but I definitely enjoyed. I've seen the growth over the course of the last, was that 2007? Wow, 10 years? Yeah. About 10, 12 years now. Yeah, about
Mhm.
10, 12 years now. I've seen the growth and seen how you guys have gone from one way to now just having all of these multiple stages, being able to support all of the Caribbean communities, because that's the most important thing. I think a lot of people like, oh well, we come here for carnival and we want soca, but we're talking about a carnival that's happening in the US where we have a
Right.
melting pot of Caribbean cultures in one community. So we have to give everybody something. At one point prior to Bahamas Carnival, we didn't have any representation of Junkanoo and or whatever our sound is, which is the rake and scrape. And now I would say every year since we introduced Bahamas Carnival, we've had a Bahamian artist participate in Miami Carnival.
Oh, absolutely. Julian Believe, big him up one time. Wendy. Yeah.
Right.
No, listen, Julian Believe will tell you the story of when he first started out some 10 plus years ago, and nobody would give him an opportunity for 5 minutes, to open up a stage. Miami Carnival was there for him, so we've always been very big on promoting, the next rising star, the next Machel Montano,
Right.
because you don't know where that person is going to come from,
Right.
and so the way we curate our entertainment stage and the welcome stage, it's to make sure that artists, as I said, from just about every Caribbean island, as well as here locally, So we always have at least one or two Hispanic artists that are aspiring to be that next Daddy Yankee. We put them on the Miami Carnival stage, so we are here to support all the cultures, not just one particular culture from one particular island, but from all the islands and from all of the non-islands as well. And so, yes, we've had artists with Hispanic, music come to the table, get an opportunity to showcase who they are, on our stage. And so, we take great pride in that. And we love to see like the Julian Believe success stories that, that were born out of and on a Miami Carnival entertainment stage.
Yes, you guys have been very monumental in the success of a lot of artists, not only a lot of small, what they call small island artists and DJs. A lot of
Mhm.
DJs have catapulted their careers on the backs of Miami Carnival. So
Mhm.
you guys have been very monumental in that. Now we're about to bring this to a close, so I want you to, one, before we go, tell me 5 songs that's currently in your playlist, because it's Carnival time.
Oh, ouch. No, you can't do that to me. That's yeah. 5 songs? Wow.
5 songs, 5
Uh,
just off the top. It doesn't have to be in any order. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's your number one, but 5 songs that you could say right now that's in your Spotify playlist, because Spotify is a sponsor. So what's in
Spotify
your
is a
Spotify
sponsor.
playlist?
Big up DJ Gel and 2 other DJs that are going to be curating some special stuff thanks to the Spotify partnership. But
Hey, Joe.
listen, it's got to go. I know Gel again. He's another gem. Just a wonderful human being. We're fortunate that he lives here in South Florida. But DJ Gel, I've enjoyed watching him grow. But so my top 5, well, not in any particular order, but this will be my number 1 for sure. Hard Fet. And we do have Bungie Garland, Fayan, and the Viking Band as our headliner. But Hard Fet, I heard that song when I was in Trinidad, and everybody was loving, my next pick, which would be the runner-up to Hard Fet. And Nyla's song is also great, and it's right up there. But I love Ezra's song. Ezra, the Fun Machine out of St. Lucia, has a wicked song. Home for Carnival or Carnival Come Home. I can't remember off the top of my head. But what have I reached? That 3? You gotta have. Well, for me, Savannah Grass is like one of those songs that I will forever love.
Right.
And we actually, we absolutely, I should say, not actually, we absolutely love, Kess and the band. And then, 4 and 5 have got to be, oh boy. Yeah, what is this? There's an artist out of Antigua, lyric that has a good song as well this year. It was last year. Yeah, so this is so hard. Oh, you're killing me.
It's okay.
but
Music tells a lot about a person and a person's personality. So when you get the top 5, you're like, okay, I see who you are.
well, you can see that I'm definitely all inclusive. So,
Right.
but yeah. That I pretty much will round out. I think that was the 5th, but that'll round up my top 5. And then how could I? Yeah, Skinny. Gee, wow, Skinny's got to be in there, and lyrical. Well, this is probably biased because I just saw what do you call it there? Lyrical at the Carrot Fest for Norfolk, Carnival. But that song that he did with Natty and Thunder, just
Ambush. Listen,
Ambush.
when
Yeah,
I tell you energy,
Ambush. Listen, to see them guys live on the stage,
Ambush and Hard Fed is the two. Like those
Ambush.
are energy.
Yes.
Energy.
So
And then Danger with
Ambush is in
Problem
there.
Child and Skinny. Like
Yeah, man.
those right there. That's mash up
Yeah.
everything.
So there's my 5 for now. Subject to change.
Everything is subject to change because it depends on what day
No,
it
but
is and what
it is
time,
so
right?
it is so
And
tough.
what you're drinking.
Hmm? Well, I only drink
Drinking water,
Caribbean.
right? What's the water? What's the water that's sponsoring you guys? Smart water. And when you're drinking smart water, you have to respect yourself
That's
and drink
right. I quench
responsibly.
my thirst with smart water, and when I want a mixed drink, nothing better than Smirnoff vodka with your
Oh,
favorite chaser.
yes. I love
You
it.
know?
I love it.
And a cold carib on Juve at midday is the best thing to cool you down. Yeah,
That's right. As long as you come early.
that's right. Come early. And that's actually some new juices coming out. We've got Beatbox coming out, and I think I might be ahead of myself. And Mario will probably kill me for this, but there is a ready to drink beverage coming out. I think Red Stripe, they're doing the mojito and the rum punch. I actually sample those. Those are pretty good. I mean, you said it earlier. There are some phenomenal sponsors that have come on board
Right.
this year. Some of them for the first time. Some are long time repeat sponsors. Again, I encourage folks to buy from those that support us. Support, you know what I'm saying? Support the sponsors that help to make Miami Carnival happen. Because I'm telling you, without the sponsors and being a nonprofit organization and not getting the whole thing underwritten by government like in some other cities, it's checks that we have to write. And
So
so at
wait,
the end of
hold
the
on.
day, thank you to the patrons that do pay and stop, and to the folks that like to try to find a way to go through a fence or hop over a fence. Stop it already. When you take away from us the revenue that you would have paid when you buy your ticket, you're only hurting us, because if we're not able to afford to produce the event, then the event will go away. Don't try to beat the system and try to jump the fence and whatnot. Just be orderly, buy a ticket. Heck, you get a chance this year to win a $10,000 watch set or an airfare for two to Trinidad and Tobago 2024. For $50, that's a great odds for you to go in and win one of those fantastic prizes. But more importantly, take the pride in knowing that what you're doing is supporting this cultural organization called Miami Broward One Carnival Host Committee that produces Miami Carnival as you know it and as you love it. And so pay into the system and stop trying to beat the system.
So this is 100%. So there's no government subsidies for this particular
We
event.
do get, so to be fair, I mean, we do get a small grant from the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs and also from the TDC, the Tourism Development Council. To be quite open, the sum total of those two is less than $100,000.
That
And I
can't
said
even buy the
before,
toilets.
our budget is $3 million. So,
Yeah.
and we also, we do get some support from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Visit Lauderdale. And so together, all of that comes up to less than $250,000 out of a $3 million budget. So you could see we still have $2.25 million gap that comes from the other sponsors as well as the gate revenue.
To be fair, $3 million on a project that generates over $110 million for the community. I think
Right.
that's an enormous
Don't get me started now.
return on investment.
We'll be on this show for another half hour if you get me started. And I don't want to bite that hand that's feeding me some. But let me just say this: it's not that we are not working with the government agencies and entities to try to raise the ceiling on the amount that they are funding. One of the grants, we have to spend it to get it.
Right.
So, that's kind of like not the same as a outright sponsorship where it's not, restricted funds where, okay, you have to spend $1 here for us to give you that $1 back.
Right.
But yes, because of the huge economic impact that the Miami Carnival brings to the local government coffers, there should be a greater number than what it is now that we are being provided with. But we are grateful, don't get me wrong, for what we do get. And yes, we would like to get more than that because I think we've earned it.
40 years. 39
40
years.
years later, hundreds of millions of dollars in economic impact later, it really needs to be an opportunity for local government to really step up. And I think, we're going to end it right here because I'll
Right.
close by saying this. Until we start to vote and exercise the power of our vote to put people in office that are either from us or for us, then we can't complain for the crumbs that we get. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So a lot of times it's very hard to try to sell who we are to a non-Caribbean or a non-Caribbean understanding elected official. And so the ask becomes very difficult because the understanding is not there readily. And so you have to come with a lot of data, and you have to come, and speak over and over and over and over again. But for me, and again, I'll put the asterisks on this. I might not be speaking on behalf of the entire board. This is just John Beckford's observation. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody. But I do believe that at the end of the day, if we put more people in office, as I said, that they either by us or for us, then we're not going to be able to move the needle the way we need to move the needle, not just to support Miami Carnival, but all the other cultural
Right.
offerings that are here in South Florida as a staple, for many years. Even the our Island Space Museum. A lot of people don't even know we have a museum right here in Broward County that is for us, by us. Hello to Khalib and David Muir. But they even have a carnival display section at the Island Space Museum. But that museum, if you're from out of town, and if you're non-Caribbean, you certainly need to go by Island Space Museum and learn more about our culture, who we are, and what we do, and the impact that Caribbean Americans have here in South Florida. I mean, this is the metropolitan area of 3 counties with six plus million people, and over 500,000 of those are Caribbean American folks. And just like in New York, it makes a difference, the Caribbean American spend and the Caribbean American dollar.
And with that being said, we are finished. This is the end of our conversation, but we will be in Miami for Miami Carnival. Give us
Hey,
the dates and give them the URL once again so that they can get the information, purchase the tickets, and find out more about your offerings.
yes, MiamiCarnival.org is the website. From there, you can jump off onto Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube channel. Instagram, our handle is MIABRO Carnival. That's like in Miami Broward Carnival, MIABRO Carnival. On Instagram and Twitter, it's the same call sign. On Facebook, it's Miami Broward One Carnival. YouTube is Miami Carnival. But all the information on all 4 events, kicking off with the Junior Carnival, Saturday, September the 30th, Panorama, Friday, October the 6th, Juve, Saturday, October the 7th, and the big Carnival Day parade and concert on Sunday, October the 7th. The do's and don'ts, the artists that are performing in the concert stage, you can find there. The park and ride information, you can find there. The list of bands, the order in which they are going to appear is on our Instagram grid and on our website. But do come out, whether you're from Ohio, Texas, or right here in our backyard. Miami Carnival Columbus Day weekend is a wonderful time to share with everybody.
All right, there you have it. You have been listening to Being Africala right here on Discover Music Channel by PlayMas.Today. You can follow PlayMas.Today on all social platforms, as well as subscribe to The Vibe so you can get more information on cultural events and activities happening in your community.